बड़े बड़े शहर में से एक है मालदा। तो उसी
जी।
उसी जगह से बहुत लोग युवा बहुत जगह आना जाना कर रहे हैं। कोई छात्रों भी जा रहा है, कोई व्यवसायिक जो है वो भी जा रहा है, कुछ
हम्म।
अनाज भी लेके जा रहा है। इतना हमारे आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी वो
हम्म।
भी जैसे ये गांव में जो खेती होता है,
हम्म।
जो अनाज होती है, वो बाहर में लेके जाए, फिर भी इसको ज्यादा से ज्यादा
जी।
किसानों को इसको लाभ मिले। इसलिए वो भी एक्चुअली एयरपोर्ट बहुत ही जरूरी है ये
हम्म।
मालदा के लिए। वो बात
हम्म।
में बोलते शुरू किए, बोलने रहा। उसी टाइम
हम्म।
50 सेकेंड के अंदर एक मैंने दाहिना तरफ से मैंने
हम्म।
ऐसा एक आवाज मेरा कान में आया, क्या कुछ
हम्म।
उधर हो रहा है। लेकिन मैं अपने वक्तव्य के ऊपर मैंने ध्यान ज्यादा से
हम्म।
ज्यादा दे रहा। मैं
हम्म।
उधर क्या हो रहा है मैंने देखा नहीं। मैं बोलते रहा, फिर भी मैंने देखा सामने से कुछ सांसद लोग वहां से ऐसे बोला, पकड़ो पकड़ो, ऐसे दौड़
हम्म।
के पीछे आ रहा था इधर
हम्म।
मेरे तरफ। मैं इधर में एक्चुअली मैं जिस रो से बोल रहा था, वो दूसरा वाला मैंने दाहिना तरफ जो रो है, उसी रो के ऊपर वो जो
हम्म।
एक्चुअली जो पब्लिक गैलरी है, वो
जी।
गैलरी से वो जो वहाँ का जो एक है गैलरी से, वो
हम्म।
वहां से कूद पड़ा एक लोग। उसके बाद वो
हाँ।
सामने कूदते कूदते चला गया, कूद रहे थे
हम्म।
गार्ड सब।
हम्म। हम्म।
मैंने जब ऐसा मैं मुड़ के देखा, दूसरा भी वो रेलिंग पकड़ के फिर कूद पड़ा,
हम्म।
रेलिंग पकड़ के कूद पड़ा वहां से। फिर उसका हाथ में कुछ था जो वहां पे स्मोक निकल रहा था, क्योंकि वो धुआं निकल रहा था। और मैंने देखा सब लोग इसमें क्या है, जितना वहाँ का और सिक्योरिटी और हमारे
हम्म।
सांसद सब एकजुट होके वो दोनों को पकड़ा, पकड़ के बाहर निकाल दिया दोनों को।
हम्म।
और बाहर निकाल के
पर ये
एक्चुअली
लोग, ये कौन थे जब जो ये जो दो कूदे थे, ये कौन थे और क्या कह रहे थे? जैसे ये अचानक से जो ये आप कह रहे हैं कि कलर बॉम्ब जो निकाला इन्होंने, धुआं फेंकना शुरू किया, ये क्या कह रहे थे वहां पर?
वो बोल, एक ही आवाज मुझे मेरा कान में ऐसे हुआ, आवाज का ऐसे था, क्या तानाशाही नहीं चली।
हम्म।
यही मैंने सुना, उससे ज्यादा नहीं। एक्चुअली मैं वहां पे स्टैंड हो गया, क्या हो रहा है। मैंने बातें
हम्म।
बोल रहा था ना,
हम्म।
स्टैंड हो गया मैंने। मैं स्टैंड
हम्म।
होके देख रहा था क्या हो रहा है। मैंने
हम्म।
दाहिना तरफ देख रहा था, उधर फिर से कूद पड़ा जब ना, तो मैं
हम्म।
मेरा भी डर लग गया। मैं खड़ा था, उसी टाइम में ऐसा घटना घटा। तो वही घटना जब घटी तो मुझे भी डर रहा था, क्या हुआ। पहले वाला जो वहां से कूद कूद पड़ा मैंने देखा नहीं। और
हम्म।
दूसरा जो वहां से कूद पड़ा है, जो रेलिंग पकड़ के नीचे
हम्म।
जो कूद पड़ा, उसको मैंने देखा। उसको हाथ में भी वो स्मोक वाला जो चीज था ना, वो पकड़ के रखा था और बोल रहा था ये तानाशाही नहीं चली।
हम्म।
बहुत नजदीक से मैंने, क्योंकि मेरा दूसरा वाला रो है ना जहाँ पे हम सांसद लोग बैठते हैं, दूसरा वाला रो
तो
से उसको पकड़ा के जब पकड़ा गया,
हम्म।
तो और सिक्योरिटी जहाँ जितना था वहाँ का सिक्योरिटी लोग भी साथ में पकड़ा उसको, और सांसद लोग सभी लोग एक साथ पकड़ के बाहर निकल दिया था उसको।
हम्म। तो उसके उसके बाद आपने कुछ पता किया कि किसी से बात किया कि ये लोग सिर्फ दो ही थे कि चार थे? बताया जा रहा है कि दो लोग और ऊपर गैलरी में बैठा हुआ था, वो लोग भी क्या कुछ नारेबाजी कर रहे थे?
नहीं, गैलरी
खगन जी।
में जो था ना,
हम्म।
इतना गैलरी में था, मैंने देखा बाद में गैलरी पूरा पका हो गया और सब लोग निकल चुका है। वो तो वहां पे जो ये दो लोग था ना गैलरी में, उनमें से
हम्म।
जितना गैलरी में लोग था, वो गैलरी जो पूरा
हम्म।
उसमें पूरा भरे हुए थे। लेकिन
हम्म।
इसके बाद इससे घटना घट गया, उसके बाद तो वो लोग वहां से कोई लोग नहीं रहा, बाहर सब
हम्म।
निकल गया डर से। तो
हम्म।
और वो से वो दो लोग नीचे था, नीचे
हाँ।
पड़ा दोनों, दोनों पकड़ा गया, दोनं को पकड़ के बाहर निकाल गया। यही था,
हम्म। हम्म।
इसके अलावा तो कुछ नहीं ना बाकी तो। लेकिन बाहर में कुछ हमें आपके एक्चुअली जो अखबार या जितना पत्रकार के तहत मैंने मुझे जो मिल रहा है,
हम्म।
बाहर में भी दो लोग पकड़ा गया ऐसे सुन रहा हूँ मैं।
हाँ, बाहर भी नारेबाजी हो रही थी
तो
जी।
पता नहीं।
हाँ, अभी तो अब तो ये दिख रहा है कि कोई वहाँ केरला, मैसूर, कर्नाटका से आया है, कोई हरियाणा से बिलोंग करते हैं। बहुत ही ज्यादा रैंडम इनका आपस में एक दूसरे से कनेक्शन तो कुछ नहीं दिख रहा है वैसे खुलेआम। बट मैं खागन जी आपसे रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा कि आप हमारे साथ रहिए। मैं जरा बाकी एक्सपर्ट से भी जानना चाहूंगा कि वो इसको क्या समझते हैं, कैसा देखते हैं। पर इससे पहले कि मैं सुशांत सरीन या डॉक्टर विक्रम सिंह से कुछ पूछूं, मैं आपसे पूछना चाहता हूँ खागन मुर्मू जी, जिस तरह से विपक्ष ने कहा कि देखिए आज ये 22वां एनिवर्सरी है, 13 दिसंबर 2001 को पार्लियामेंट में अटैक हुआ और देखिए ऐसा हो गया। और वो कह रहे हैं कि सरकार ने सिक्योरिटी पर ध्यान नहीं दिया। नया पार्लियामेंट तो बना लिया, लेकिन नया पार्लियामेंट का सिक्योरिटी बहुत खराब है। आप क्या कहेंगे?
एक्चुअली ये तो जांच होगी ना, इसके बारे में तो कार्रवाई होगी। हमारे माननीय हमारे अध्यक्ष जी, एक्चुअली हमारे
हम्म।
जो पार्लियामेंट का जो स्पीकर
हम्म।
साहब, इसको जांच करेगी, तो इससे कार्रवाई भी होगी। तो सिक्योरिटी के बारे में तो बातचीत होगी, तो पता चल जाएगा इसका क्या है, कैसे वो अंदर घुस गया,
हम्म।
कैसे उसको जाने, एक्चुअली इसको जो इजाजत मिला, तो पकड़ा जाएगा। मैं पत्रकार से मुझे जो पता
हम्म।
चला,
हम्म।
उन्होंने क्या उसके जूते के नीचे को दिखा
हम्म।
रहा था कि यहाँ पे आए थे मेरे घर पे, कोई पत्रकार मुझे दिखा रहा था, वो उसका मोबाइल में दिखवाया था, जो उसका पैर के नीचे, जूते के नीचे वो जो सोल होता है, सोल के अंदर वो
हम्म।
काट के वहां पे रखे थे, जो चीज वो निकाल रहा था ना, धुआं निकल रहा था, ऐसे
हम्म।
बोल रहा था। तो ये मैंने देखा, लेकिन ये तो बाद में पता चलेगा एक्चुअली
हम्म।
क्या है, क्या जांच करेंगे जब, तब तो पता चल जाएगा जरूर।
हम्म। Dr. Vikram Singh, how would you look at this? Would you look at it as a massive security breach? Would you look at it from a political prism? What's the thought process here? How could
Anand
this
ji, good
happen?
evening, and good evening, esteemed panelists. I would say totally unacceptable, audacious, and was totally avoidable. How it came to happen is a serious breach of security, and I would say it is an attack that has been totally successful. Had it not been for a dummy
Hmm.
cracker, it could have been an actual gas bomb. They could have emitted phosgene or any other poisonous gas. They could have carried a grenade. You and I have visited the parliament multiple times, and nobody is
Hmm.
an exception, much less the visitors carrying a pass, duly recommendation. Now the reverse end. Today happens to be also an input of what Guru Patwant Singh Pannu had said, 18th November, he will bomb Air India planes. Then he will say that he'll attack our parliament, the temple of democracy, either on the 13th of December or in close proximity of 13th December. In the backdrop of this input, you really have to try very hard to bungle up in this manner. I would have been extremely satisfied that yes, the security of the parliament is absolutely infallible and absolutely beyond compromise. But yes, it has been compromised, and that too by those who seem to have applied their mind, planned on social media, executed from four corners of the country: Lucknow, Haryana, Mysore, and Maharashtra. There's much more to it than what meets the eye, Anand, and the larger conspiracy, the insidious and the criminal mind and the propensity who have gone to plan this, they need to be exposed. These are the foot soldiers, but those behind the foot soldiers in the planning and execution, that quartermaster has to be identified and taken, because the timing, the manner in which it has happened after the results of the recent elections, as also the impending 2024 elections, and also the Pran Pratishtha of the Ram Janmabhoomi, this time seems to be a moment of posturing for some quarters. And I'll stop at that.
Sushant Sarinji, how do you look at this?
No, frankly, I don't know how I can add anything to what Dr. Vikram Singh has said. Look, today being the anniversary, the threats which had already been issued, this is a colossal security failure. There's no two ways about it. And I think heads need to roll, because in these days, you had to be extra careful, because you know that terrorists or saboteurs or subversive elements will use anniversaries of occasions to carry out these kind of things. So there needed to be extra vision. Number one. Number two, it is, and there is no escaping this, this is a massive political embarrassment for the government. There are no two ways about it, because ultimately the buck stops with the government. If the government takes credit for good security, then the government has to, take the fall for a security lapse as well. So I don't think there are any two ways about it. Now, who are these guys? The fact that they're from four corners, it's a coordinated thing. And I'll come to the security bit in just half a minute. Very clearly, this was a planned thing. This was not something that, four people randomly suddenly got up and decided they're going to do this because they wanted that 15 minutes of fame. Perhaps the motivation for them was 15 minutes of fame. Now that they're going to be in the prison for the next 15 years is another matter, right? But I think the motivation was 15 minutes of fame, and somebody has put them to it. Somebody has coordinated this. Somebody has planned this to embarrass the government. There is no two ways about it. And this means that, you are all open. We've just had an MP who has been expelled because, she was very cavalier with the use of our passwords and, was created a situation which was a kind of a breach. And now you have something. I wonder whether the security mechanisms at the gates failed, that these guys could smuggle in these kind of, canisters inside. Well, Anand, you and I know, all of us who have gone to Parliament ever, all of us who have gone to government offices ever, we know how tight the security is. Everything is checked. Everything is very carefully examined. How is it that people are able to smuggle in canisters unless, and I dare say this, somebody already had smuggled this in? Then there is, of course, and I believe that the BJP MP whose name has come, that he, it was on his recommendation that a pass had been given, perhaps was a patsy. Now, look, MPs, and we have an honorable MP sitting with us, their constituents who want to come to Delhi will want to go to visit the Parliament. It's a thing for most people in this country. And very often MPs would want to oblige, their constituents. And again, without checking the antecedents all the time, they will, recommend people for passes and stuff like that. We've seen that. It happens virtually on a daily basis. So clearly somebody has used the BJP MP as a patsy so that, nobody can link it to somebody else. But I think there is something very sinister behind what has happened. Heads need to roll of the security staff who allowed this breach. But heads need to roll also of the people who were the planners and the perpetrators of this entire thing. As far as these 4 people are concerned, look, I can understand now if somebody wants to protest, there are 500 other ways of protesting. You cannot enter the Parliament. You cannot create this kind of a scene and be allowed to go scot-free. I think all the really draconian laws which go against terrorism need to be applied in this particular case. You need to make an example of these people. You need to make a horrible example of all these people, because they have done something. And I think Dr. Vikram Singh raised this point, and he's absolutely right. What if they'd got something else? What if they'd got some kind of gas? What if they'd got some explosive? Everybody wants to have their TikTok videos and their reels and stuff like that. But Anand, we need to be extremely careful that this kind of behavior, this kind of a thing simply is unacceptable, and the harshness punishment needs to be meted out to not only these 4 people who have been arrested, but also the guys who put them to this.
Correct. Not just put them to this. Obviously, they will skim. This is just the surface that needs to be skimmed, and they will dive deeper. Although there are family members who are coming out and saying they had no clue. So the person from Karnataka or the lady from Haryana, their family members' reactions are astonishing. They said they had no clue. They said one of them said is going to Bengaluru. The other one, they said the brother of the lady, the Needham, he has said that I had no clue that what is this going on. But Khagan Murmu ji, जब किसी एमपी का पास लेकर के कोई विजिटर पे आता है, ये किसके कंट्रोल में होता है? Does the MP know, or is it the MP staff that does it? How does this happen? क्योंकि प्रताप सिम्हा जी पर विपक्ष अब सवाल उठा रहा है कि उन्होंने कैसे इस व्यक्ति को पास दिया है, क्योंकि एक पास जो सागर शर्मा नाम का जो है उसका पास शायद प्रताप सिम्हा की तरफ से आया है, 1 या 2 लोगों का बीजेपी एमपी की तरफ से आया है।
कल उन्होंने पास इश्यू किया या नहीं किया ये तो मुझे पता नहीं। तो पास के बारे में ऐसा होता है, हर एमपी के पास सभी लोग जाते हैं। मान लीजिए मतलब मेरा क्षेत्र का कोई आएगा तो आने के बाद मुझे बताएगा मैं ये सदन में जाना चाह रहा हूँ, पास बनवा देंगे तो अच्छा होगा। तो हम लोग तो पास के लिए में एक्चुअली अप्रोच करते हैं, हम इश्यू करने के लिए एक्चुअली पास जो फंड भरा के मैंने पास उनके बारे में मैं उसके नाम से पास निकाल के दे देता है, लेकिन वो whether he issued the pass or not, I don't know. एक्चुअली मैंने सभी एमपी को यही होता है, जो कोई पास के लिए कोई आएंगे एमपी का पास, एमपी तो उसको दे देता है, क्योंकि हमें तो हमारे, मान लीजिए मैं वेस्ट बंगाल से
कोई तो चेक होता होगा ना, कोई तो एंटीसीडेंट होगा, दिस इज अ वरिंग कॉज।
तो मैं भी मुझे देना पड़ता है, ये तो
नहीं, पर आप देते हैं, लेकिन आप पता तो करेंगे कि ये कौन व्यक्ति है, किसी के थ्रू आता है। आमतौर पे आपका स्टाफ कोई रेफर करेगा कि देखिए पहचान का है, अपनी कॉन्स्टिट्यूंसी में रहता है, दिल्ली जा रहे हैं, पार्लियामेंट का सदन देखना चाहते हैं तो आ रहे हैं, क्योंकि और ये सब 4-5 लोग जो है वो आए, रैंडमली आए विवेक, बट द मैसेजिंग what they are saying is the opposition's lines. It's tailor-made by the opposition. It's exactly what the opposition or those who do not agree with this current government, the lines that they use. But they come from different places. Would you see this as a concerted plan, which is a successful one, or would you believe that you would want to just focus on the security lapse as to how these people got in?
एक्चुअली सिक्योरिटी के बारे में तो वो तो जांच होगी, उसके बाद पता चलेगा किसका क्या है, वो तो जरूर इसके बारे में कार्रवाई होगी। तो वो हमारे माननीय जो हमारे एक्चुअली स्पीकर साहब आदरणीय ओम बिरला
स्पीकर ने तो कहा कि हाई लेवल इंक्वायरी होगी खगन मुर्मू जी, और कल सुबह तक तो सदन स्थगित हो गया है। लेकिन मैं जरा विवेक जी से पूछना चाहता हूँ। विवेक जी आपकी बात सुन रहे थे, विवेक क्या कह रहे हैं आप?
देखिए, पहली चीज तो ये है कि इस तरीके से आई वॉश ना किया जाए कि मेंबर पार्लियामेंट की कोई रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ही नहीं है। मैं आपको बता देता हूं, 90% मेंबर पार्लियामेंट, आपके एमएलए, बहुत सारे कॉर्पोरेटर्स, और इनमें से बहुत से हैं जिनको ट्विटर यूज करना भी नहीं आता है, इनके सोशल आईडीज, पासवर्ड्स वगैरह, इनके पीएस या नोन पीपल हु आर नोन टू देम, दे आर द वंस हु हैव बीन मैनेजिंग इट। आई एम नॉट ट्राइंग टू डिफेंड Mahua Moitra, but I am telling you what has been happening at the ground level. Okay, so I mean, had this been a member parliament from the Communist Party or the Congress or some other, so Sushant Sareen would have torn us to pieces. And today he is trying to defend, saying कोई बात नहीं होती साहब, वो तो member parliament होता है, लोग आते हैं पास लेने के लिए तो पास दे दिया। The person who referred and who gave the passes, that member of parliament needs to be questioned first, and that member of parliament, उनको उनके खिलाफ पहले कार्रवाई करिए। And this gentleman from the BJP, इनको लोकसभा से निष्कासित करिए। बहुत शौक अगर महुआ मोइत्रा को निकालने का, तो इनको भी निकालिए पहले। You cannot protect।
पर यही तो ये है कि आपने हमारे तरफ से किसी एक एमपी को निकाला इस ग्राउंड पर, तो अब यहाँ ब्रीच हुआ है, तो अब आप इसको भी निकालिए। That cannot be the rationale, no. Pratap Simha has been called up. Pratap Simha has met the speaker. Pratap Simha has provided his point of view. There has to be a high-level inquiry. And
what is that point of view,
from my point, see, from the point of the right stand, you have to take the right stand in the interest of the country. So to link this with another MP's ouster is not the answer. Who gave the pass? How this pass was given? And how did this security breach happen? So the security breach officials will also be pulled up. They will also be pulled up.
I'll take 10 seconds, sir. I'm asking you a simple question. आपका base क्या था to question and to suspend Mahua Moitra? You said national security has been breached. That was one single clause. The rest were basically add-ons. In this particular case, I just want to know, has the national security been breached or not? Was the Prime Minister's life in danger or not?
See, there is no doubt. It's not just the Prime Minister, sir. There is no doubt in this case that there is a breach of national security. There is a security breach because the Parliament is sacrosanct and temple of democracy. Yes, agreed. But would you want to also look at who is behind it and who's plotted it, along with pulling up the MPs who issued the pass? Would you not want to also see who's plotted it? Because this has to be, this is a carefully planned, concerted effort. This is the question. Vikram Singh ji, if you can hear me, sir, if you are having a conversation elsewhere, please mute yourself. We'll try and connect with Vikram Singh ji in just a bit. PKD Nambiar, would you want to say, yes, passes have been issued by some BJP MPs, but the language spoken is not of the BJP. Language spoken is not of just any other disgruntled person. The language spoken is exactly what's being used across the board as part, quite literally as part of a toolkit. तानाशाही नहीं चलेगी, बेरोजगारी के खिलाफ, बढ़ती कीमतों के खिलाफ, the kind of tone that has been used. This is exactly what the opposition's mantra has been all along. So would you not want to know who these people are, what their motivations are? Or who
Anand, the way they
Well, I think what happened today in the parliament is very unfortunate. And there is no doubt, unlike anybody else, I will also say that we need to go to the root of it, from where it is, whether it is at the national level or at the international level, there are conspiracy, we need to work on it. But unfortunately, I feel that my friend Vivek and all, I've already taken a decision comparing this with Mahua Mohitro. Come on, man, at least grow up. I mean, it's the time for you to grow up and politicize, even if a matter which is an attack on the parliament or inside the parliament needs to be at least having a civilized way to think over it. I think what happened today is unfortunate. Does not mean that you compare this with an Mahua Mohitro or you make this as if that it is a small affair. No, this is as the former IPS officer said, that it could have been something as well. So I think there is a security lapse. There is no doubt about it. And that security lapse, that too at a new parliament is happening, is very, very unfortunate. I think the security authorities needs to be answerable, whomsoever has been protecting the parliament. That is the first part. Now, before politicizing it, who did it? Is it a left nexus? It seems like the four corners of this, the country is coming out from different parts of the people coming out. Their messaging, what they have tried to portray, was more of like a left-oriented people. Who does that kind of a statement? I think let's not rush. Even I should not rush that it is left-oriented people or the right-oriented people. But one thing is for sure, that the kind of messaging what has been given, both inside the parliament, even the outside the parliament. I am right now in the central Delhi. I'm just talking to you. I was just crossed the parliament just half an hour back. So the idea is that it is not, let's not terrorize it. Let's not politicize it. Let the agencies work. Let's believe in those people. They have the capability. It's unfortunate that 22 years
here's where I'm not able to put a finger on. And Khagan Murmu ji, देखिए विवेक ने क्या कहा? विवेक ने ये कहा कि अगर आप महुआ मोइत्रा को बाहर करते हैं नेशनल सिक्योरिटी के इशू पर, तो जिन एमपीज ने ये पास इशू किया इन सारे लोगों को, जो कि सदन में आए और जिन्होंने ये सिक्योरिटी ब्रीच किया है, तो क्या उन एमपीज के खिलाफ एक्शन नहीं होना चाहिए? ये उनकी तरफ से नेशनल सिक्योरिटी ब्रीच नहीं है। आप इसको मानेंगे आप, या ये कहेंगे कि क्या इन एमपीज का इरादा सिक्योरिटी ब्रीच करना था? क्या इन एमपीज ने जानबूझ के इनको पास दिया ताकि ये आके इस तरह से करें? क्योंकि महुआ मोइत्रा पे तो आरोप है कि उनको पता था कि वो क्या कर रही है। दोनों में आप फर्क देख रहे हैं कि दोनों सेम है? I'm just asking Khagan ji and then I'll come back to you, PK.
एक्चुअली महुआ मोइत्रा का जो विषय था वो अलग का है। महुआ मोइत्रा खुद जानती थी वो क्या कर रही है, लेकिन ये जो पास जो यहाँ पे ये पास इशू की है, पास के बारे में तो एक्चुअली मैं कह रहा हूँ, मतलब मेरा क्षेत्र से कोई आएगा, मेरा बंगाल से कोई आएगा, ताकि मेरा पार्टी का कोई बोलेंगे तो मुझे इसको पास देना चाहिए। वो अंदर जाना चाह रहा है देखने के लिए, ये नया जो संसद बना हुआ, नया एक ये पार्लियामेंट बना हुआ है और जो अभी सत्र चल रहा है वो देखने के लिए जाना चाह रहा है। तो हम तो ऐसे हम दे देता है, लेकिन ऐसा नहीं है। जो महुआ मोइत्रा के बारे में तो जानबूझकर कर रहे हैं, लेकिन ये जो पास इशू कर रहे हैं तो फिर भी किसको दिया हुआ, कौन कैसे गया है, इसके बारे में तो हाई लेवल जो हमारे जो आदरणीय ओम बिरला जी, हमारे माननीय स्पीकर साहब ने बताया, हाई लेवल इंक्वायरी होगा। वो तो इंक्वायरी के बाद, होने के बाद, कार्रवाई के बाद तो पता चलेगा। इसके बाद तो कोई इसके लिए तो कोई मेरा ये क्या है, मैं डिफाइंड कुछ नहीं कर रहा इसके बारे में। एक्चुअली वो जांच करने के बाद, कार्रवाई जब होगी, उसके बाद तो पता चल जाएगा।
अब देखिए, देयर आर कॉप्स कमिंग ऑन द रूफटॉप ऑफ पार्लियामेंट, एक सिक्योरिटी इशू हो गया। सुशांत जी,
राजनीति का तो बात है, घटना घटी है, तो इसके लिए तो हमारे प्रधानमंत्री, आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी जहाँ पे दिख रहे हैं, किसी का यहाँ पे कोई ऐसा नहीं हो, कोई ऐसे चला जाए कि सबके ऊपर पूरा सब पूरा। अभी प्रधानमंत्री जी जैसे बोल रहा है ना, हर जगह आप देखिए हमारे देश कहाँ तक हम पहुंचा दिया, हमारे
देश जहां तक भी पहुंच जाए, लेकिन ये जो टाइमिंग है, ये अलग अलग लेवल्स पे कहीं ना कहीं मुझे ऐसा लग रहा है। I'm going to go back to Sushant ji. I see some things which rankle Sushant ji. One is 4 people coming together from randomly different parts of the country with the same plan To have a canister fitted into your shoe takes a certain level of planning. To come there and put out a certain level of messaging also, it has been done. And also day, it's the 13th of December, 22nd anniversary of the Parliament attack. Now, are you going to just come back and pull up and haul up? Of course, those MPs should be hauled up. But should those MPs be blamed for this breach of national security, or should those MPs be blamed for negligence, for not actually doing due diligence on who these people are? And to what level can you do due diligence? If someone like a Khagan Murmu is saying, if somebody comes, say, my constituency say, wants to see the new parliament, how do you say no if their antecedents are bona fide? Basic verification is what we'll do. You look at an Aadhaar card, you say, where do you live? Kaun hai? Kaun tum isko jante ho? Behind that, what are the motivation machinations? We do not know. But how did they slip a canister inside? How did they walk in undetected? That's a security breach. The security officials have to be pulled up there. But who helped them plan it? Are we not more keen to know who helped them plan this? Who's behind? Who's the mastermind?
Look, you are absolutely right, and I don't know why Vivek is just trying to pick a fight with me for no reason. Of course, a member of parliament will be questioned, and I think there will be maybe some strictures or something which will be passed against him. Which, look, as Mr. Murmu is saying, this is something all MPs do, and we should not link it up with a case where questions were raised and favors were taken. That's the charge against.
That was willful there. Yeah.
Right.
She knew exactly what she was doing.
Out here, and every MP, even Communist Party MPs, if I was supposing to go to Vivek and ask him, I want to go to Parliament, can you please ask one of your MPs to get me a pass? Vivek knows me, right? Vivek will say, okay, I'll recommend you. The MP will give me the pass. I will go out there and I'll raise some slogan. Who is to blame? Is the member of parliament to blame? Is Vivek to blame, or am I to blame? Number one. But of course, you have to inquire into it, and you have to do a very, very serious inquiry. Nobody should be let off. Number one. Number two, what are your security protocols when people are entering parliament? And should those security protocols be there only for the public and the officials who visit parliament, or should there also be for members of parliament? I think these are now questions which are going to be raised, because if members of parliament, and I'm just purely speculating, if somebody who's a member of parliament has managed to smuggle in something and then given something to these guys inside, and I don't know, I'm just speculating. This is what the inquiry will find out. The inquiry will also find out who recommended these people. The inquiry will then interrogate these people and find out their antecedents. My own sneaking suspicion is that most of these guys are probably dumb people who will not have an idea of who is actually behind it. It'll be some nameless, faceless person who would have told them that you will get your 15 minutes of fame. You will become famous. You will become the new Bhagat Singhs, because, this is the Bhagat Singh thing. Nobody was hearing us, so we did this so that everybody can hear us. That's the kind of nonsense they are spouting, right? That nonsense is going to be floated. And I don't think anybody should fall for that, because this is completely unacceptable. And I reiterate, Anand, you have to make a horrible example of these people. But if you allow this to just slide, I think that will be disastrous. But the second point is, it's pointless saying that don't politicize it. It will be politicized. It should be politicized, and I don't see any reason why it should not be politicized. As I said, if the government takes credit for improving security, then it has to take the rap for a security
for a lap.
There's just no two ways about it, and the opposition is entitled to raise this issue. My only thing is, I wonder who is behind this entire conspiracy which has been hatched, because it is a conspiracy. Number one, even by legal definition, if 4 people are involved, it's a conspiracy, or more than 2 people are involved, it's a conspiracy. So this is very clearly a conspiracy. It's a coordinated thing. You've got people from all 4 corners, and one needs to get to the bottom of this conspiracy and make even a worse example of the people who put these guys on this job, and make sure that they are taken to the cleaners on that.
Because Rajya Sabha has also been adjourned, Lok Sabha is adjourned, both will convene.
Anand, allow me half a minute. Again, while I'm all for going in for a very solid inquiry into this, a ruthless inquiry and ruthless punishment, let's not do these knee-jerk reactions that all people will be stopped coming from the galleries. Now we will do this, we will do that. Now we will post snipers on the parliament roof. Let's just be
there is a certain level of optics also that is required to say that this is being taken seriously. I'm on board with you that business of parliament should not stop. People should not be stopped. Anyway, there was huge security protocols. These people knew phones are not being allowed. Phones were not allowed. You had to leave all your belongings. You could not take anything metal with you. All of these security procedures are there. PKD, what's important is, and before I go back to Vivek, Sushant has touched upon a few things which are from a playbook. What to say, how to do it, and how it should remind, and how you should time it on certain days which are stark reminders, and do it in a way which are also drawing parallels. And this is all pointing towards some parts of the opposition who could be orchestrating it, although it's all up there. 4 random people, how could they plan? And clearly there is planning because they've got this canister hidden inside their shoe. So somebody had to make this happen. Somebody had to ensure that this is what was happening. And how is it that these 4 people said that their voices are not being heard? Only these 4 voices are not being heard. So are they trying to deliberately create a perception of what? That nobody is listening to them. One person in Mysuru believes this, one person from Haryana believes this, 2 other people from 2 other corners believe it, and then there are 2 more people who are making the same noises outside. So what noises were being made outside are being made inside. Somebody is telling these people, let's recreate those moments from the annals of our history, and on days which are stark reminders, black days in our history. Do you see how it's all being written? It's like a playbook. Somebody's thought up. PK, can you hear me?
Is that for me? I think there is no doubt that this is very well planned, coordinated, and executed. Whether you can say that how it has been executed and all these 4 people belongs to which category, from where, and etc. will only come out after an inquiry. But one thing, and that too a thorough inquiry. But it's not right that to blame the MP. I don't know that MP personally, but then an average MP in India represents 2 million people. And these 2 million people, I mean, MP may not be knowing all the 2 million people. Somebody comes to Delhi and goes through somebody else, somebody whom he is known to. That is the way. And an MP is also not a security agency. He don't run a security agency to check the whereabouts of the people whom he is recommending for a pass. I think that is the role of the security agencies, which is protecting the parliament. It is their role. And I think if at all, if there was any lapse which has made, it is at the security forces who is protecting the parliament. There is no doubt. Beyond that, of course, we can always, an inquiry will definitely go through an MP also. Is he known to them personally very well? Maybe that could be. And if that, if not, who recommended his name to the MP to give away these passes? All these inquiry has to happen, and it will happen. And I don't think that anybody needs to have any doubt on that. See, we live in the world wherein our Prime Minister is not an ordinary person. He has the power. He will go till to the detail of it and ensure that justice is done. And an attack on Parliament is not an attack on Parliament. It is an attack on India. The people who were, what kind of a slogan they were making, it doesn't matter. Only one thing is that, why I said that don't politicize it immediately. Let us get some details. If there is a genuine failure from the government's part, I will be the first person to come out and criticize the government. But then today there is an incident which happened, which is absolutely an attack on our parliament and India as a concept on Bharat. And that needs to be first identified, not just in India, across the world, wherever there is a link. We don't know right now, Anand. You and me are just discussing.
No, there may be no link. At the end of the day, frankly, there may be no link. But there has been a certain level of planning, timing, and there has been entries which has been found out. It could have been any MP, and the MPs also need to do a regular censure. There has to be a certain docket, and perhaps all MPs now will be extra careful because this is a lesson learned. Because
absolutely.
But Vivek, would you not want to know who these people are and what their motivations are? Are you willing to believe that 4, 5, 6 people, random people from different parts of the country suddenly decided, let's go together and let's do this? Is it possible?
It cannot be. It's not possible. Everybody wants to know. The entire nation wants to know कि कौन थे ये लोग, why did they come, what did they do, what were the demands, and why did they use this particular way. However, that is on a later stage. That will come in front of all of us after investigation. It cannot be random. It has to be planned. So, and somebody is from Mysore and somebody is from some other place. So that investigation is one part. I and you sitting over here on the channel cannot actually do anything about it till the authorities actually tell us kya hua. Now, but from our common sense, however, there are two things. As Vikram Singh ji had rightly said, Gurpatwant Singh Pannu had clearly said that 13 December, on 13th of December or before it, I am definitely going to attack the Parliament.
He didn't say he will attack the Parliament. He said he will do something in contrast to 13 December 2001. Okay. So I'm just saying that, but he did say he did rabble rouse. See, there was an attempt to join issues. There was an attempt to rabble rouse. He himself is a Khotestani, so I won't even want to give him that kind of purchase. But there are people who are propping the likes of Pannu or Vivek. There are people who have propped these 4 or 5 individuals up too.
Absolutely, I agree with you totally.
One is inclined to believe that.
Yeah. However, if somebody of this nature has made a statement, whether seriously or non-seriously, we should have been much more careful. That is something on which I think everybody sitting in this panel will agree with, right?
Yes.
And our security breach has been. It is not a very a great thing to get something. ये बड़ी easily discoverable चीज है. Anybody who watches any of the even old time James Bond films knows that at the base of the shoe something can be hidden and it can be used. If it was not checked, that means our security authorities are not in place. That is very clear.
इसमें एक और है. इसमें अभी problem ये है कि these days we don't even know the nature of the canisters that have been used, and if they're all plastic and cannot be detected by a metal detector, then we have a serious problem, because that means that there is a greater level of planning that's gone into it. Gagan Murmu ji, मेरा अंतिम प्रश्न आपसे है. I have to wind up this conversation. कि आपको क्या लगता है कि आगे जाके क्या होगा? क्या एज MP अब आप खुद किसी को पास देने से कतराएंगे? 4 बार पूछेंगे, चेक करेंगे?
जरूर. ये तो पहली बार हमको तो ऐसे जो सदन में ऐसे घटना घटी, तो ये तो हमको तो थोड़ा जांच करना पड़ेगा. अपन को जब मैं पास इशू करेंगे उसके बारे में पहले जो आपने बोला, तो ज्यादा से ज्यादा जानकारी लेने के लिए कोशिश करेंगे. और हर MP को यही करना चाहिए, क्योंकि ये किसको मैं पास दे रहा हूँ. लेकिन अभी क्या हुआ, अपना कोई लोग अगर कोई मतलब पार्टी के हो या ये जो अपना क्षेत्र के कोई आने वाला है, कोई आएंगे
जी, तो
उनको भी हमको ऐसे बोलना चाहिए, बोलेंगे आप किस लिए जा रहे हैं, आपका पास क्या है, कुछ है या नहीं है. ये तो बहुत मुसीबत, ये बहुत मुश्किल का बात है. लेकिन ये तो करना पड़ेगा बाद में. ऐसा हो रहा है. ये जो भी हो, हमारे एक्चुअली आदरणीय जो स्पीकर साहब, जो अभी तो हाई लेवल के बारे में बताया, हाई लेवल इंक्वायरी होगा, जांच शुरू होगी, तो इसके बाद तो पता चल जाएगा उसके बाद क्या एक्चुअली.
जी, कहीं ना कहीं ऐसा लग रहा है कि एक फुल बॉडी स्कैनर जैसा आजकल इंटरनेशनल एयरपोर्ट्स में भी लगता है, जहां हेड टू टो पूरा स्कैनिंग होता है और जूता उता सबका स्कैनिंग होता है. समथिंग लाइक दैट विल हैव टू बी पुट एंड फोर सिक्योरिटी प्रोटोकॉल्स विल हैव टू बी पुट. बट दिस इज अ स्टार्क रिमाइंडर that danger lurks just around the corner. Nobody at any point in time can allow to relax their guard, because it just takes them one attempt. They can try 100 times, we can succeed in thwarting them 99 times. They just need one attempt. Troublemakers to try and really disrupt what our proceedings in Bharat. I thank you all, gentlemen. Thank you very much for your patience and for your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, Moto.
Movement that inspires.
What does the Constitution mean?
How can we educate a 60-year-old man?
Why beat around the bush? It's time to say it like it is, to brush aside political correctness and present the real picture with clarity and candor. Because there's only one side that matters.
Plain Speak with Shivani Gupta, only on CNN News 18.
Movement that inspires.
Exposing India's detractors.
India is not a democracy.
What does the constitution mean?
Demolishing double standards. Debunking hypocrisy. Because India deserves better. The right stand. At this time on CNN News 18.
Movement that inspires.
News now, there seems to be a security breach in the Lok Sabha, ladies and gentlemen, where a person has jumped from the visitors gallery of the Lok Sabha. That's the piece of breaking news that's coming in. We'll try to get some more details, but what we are learning is that there seems to have been a security breach in the Lok Sabha where a person has jumped from the visitors gallery. That's the latest that's coming in from Parliament, ladies and gentlemen. That's a big piece of breaking news where there seems to have been a security breach in the lower house of Parliament where a person has jumped from the visitors gallery. We'll try to get some more details when it comes to what has happened inside Parliament, but what we are learning is that a person seems to have jumped from the visitors gallery. This is a huge security breach in the Lok Sabha, and also we've got access to those visuals. We'll play them out very soon for you. There seems to have been a security breach in the Lok Sabha where a person has jumped from the visitors gallery. This is a huge piece of news that's coming in where the breach has also been caught on camera where a person has jumped from the visitors gallery in the Lok Sabha. That's the piece of news that's coming in. Those visuals will get you very soon, ladies and gentlemen, where a massive security breach has now been reported from the lower house of Parliament where a person has jumped from the visitors gallery. Remember, the visitors gallery open to members of the public, but they go through a massive security vetting when it comes to entering the lower house of Parliament. Now what we are learning is that a person has jumped from the visitors gallery. Those visuals on your screen where it seems that a person has jumped from the visitors gallery. A massive security breach, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to the proceedings inside the house. Those visuals on your screen where it seems you can see the person just jumping from the benches, jumping from the visitors gallery, then jumping across the benches. Those visuals on your screen where the person, as you can see, the security officials are also trying to chase him down, to corner him and to contain him and to restrain him as the person is jumping across the benches. A massive security breach inside Parliament, ladies and gentlemen. Those dramatic visuals on your screen, you can see the person jumping from the visitors gallery and then
back on the right stand with focus again. On the one hand, there is the Parliament security breach. On the other hand, we have a huge national security issue that perhaps kind of slipped under the radar, ladies and gentlemen, but we thought we should dwell on it with two very erudite minds on national security, Tara Karta ji and also Sanjay Kulkarni ji joining us at this point. Namaste and Jai Hind to both of you. And we will focus attention on the NIA crackdown on this ISIS semi module. And it all led to the arrest of Saqib Nachan. And this Saqib Nachan, a big catch, somebody who's been arrested in the past, but now has been doing all kinds of work, which has been where he's trying to create a pan-Islamist bent. ISIS modules working with former semi operatives. General Sanjay Kulkarni, are you surprised, shocked, or are you looking at this was fait accompli?
Anand, thank you. I must tell you that, the very fact that NI is keeping all these chaps in the radar is indicative that there's a lot happening all over the world. And we are obviously not get to be, away from it. You know what's happening in Afghanistan. We know how Pakistan, despite its deep involvement in Afghanistan, despite that, Taliban hit back. So they have their own problems with Tehrik-e-Taliban, Pakistan, whole lot of terrorists, a number of weapons left behind by America. Then you had the ISIS, which is was a major problem. Everybody thought ISIS, the Muslim Brotherhood again. You see the offset, the Hamas over there, Israel. So there are a lot of things happening, and there is no denying the fact that the Muslims per se, let's not play around with words, do find it difficult, because late one notices that any religion which is not propagating peace, or you can find a kind of a difference, or people can sort of misinterpret and people can be radicalized, is extremely, extremely dangerous. And that is what irks, and we must be very careful about. And this radicalization which is taking place, by anybody, for them, it does not matter. They are just the kinds that they have to spread Islam. That is all that they are looking at. They are not interested in anything else. And if that be so, then we ought to be very, very careful. Because even Sharia, you can look at it from a point of view that he's a one-man judge. The mullah can do anything and everything. So the common man over there, if they have a problem, they rather not go to the court. They rather go to that mullah over there, who will now therefore be able to give you a judgment instantly, within maybe a few days, just referring to the Sharia laws. So that may be to a large extent be satisfying the local people with their problems, and therefore not going to the court and things. We have to be very careful. We have to be making it extremely, extremely clear. Look, this is one country which has a constitution, and everybody has to abide to that constitution. Should you not be doing that?
What Saqib Nachan was doing was trying to create his own area in Padga, this entire region in Padga of Mumbai. In this region, he was trying to call this area as Al-Sham, or a liberated zone. His son Shamil Nachan has been involved, and what they were trying to do is they were recruiting Bayatis, asking them to come there and further strengthen this area, this region, so that you have a solitary or a solid group of people and numbers, and then you call this area as your own Gad, your own liberated zone. If this is not pan-Islam, Dr. Tara Karta, then what is? And they were trying to teach these people how to make IEDs, coaching them into being Fidain. Lots of details that are shocking. And it looks like a huge, huge terror attack has been averted. The continuum is with the arrest of Shahnawaz and those others, but it just looks like we were looking at something far more diabolical, something that would have overshadowed 26/11.
Anand, the thing is, I'm surprised, because in 2017, I remember that they had asked for a life term, right? For this guy, for his activities in Mumbai in 2002 attacks and so on. He has a long, what shall I say, biodata in terms of terrorism.
Yeah, working with Khalistanis in the 90s. It starts since then, ma'am.
Exactly. So that is what is worrying. And then he gets let out because of his, exemplary attitude in jail. And he's from Simi, right? He was, I think he was president of the Simi at some point. See, Simi is extremely well organized. Unlike, Lashkar-e-Taiba is, virtually part of the state in Pakistan, as is the Jaish-e-Mohammed. But in India, it is Simi which has always been the base of most terrorist groups. Even if you find former Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorists ex-Simi, so they have an underground, what shall I say, a kind of a networking which has been going on for years. And that's what, despite being banned, they emerge under PFI, another case. In Kerala, Simi has its own, what shall I say, frontal organizations. So this particular organization has to be kept under watch all the time. But what you have brought out, your channel has brought out, this is shocking. This is bringing together so many groups who had their differences in the past, right? You had, problems between Indian Mujahideen, you had Indian Mujahideen fighting. It was usually over money, over areas of operations. And now, according to your report, they have a sort of an area to themselves. This is unbelievable. So if all of these various groups bring together their particular expertise, this is extremely dangerous. And I wouldn't even rule out that they may even sort of assist some of the Khalistanis who are floating around. because you've got Gurpatwant Singh Pannu making threats out day after day. He's got one threat, new threats coming out against Parliament, as we know. I wouldn't rule it out, because I have seen some very strange alliances lately. There is particularly,
and these people have aligned with the Khalistanis in the 90s. It's not that this Saqib Najan faction in this group, he is not aligned. He was in jail because of his association with them and working with those terrorists at that time. So this entire K2 combination, and we are seeing this terror groups combining ranks even on the other side of the LOC, General Kulkarni. We are seeing the Hizbul, Lashkar, Jaish all combining ranks, borrowing LED experts from the Taliban. So we're seeing a lot happening. Even the ISIS, Khorasan, certain people are splinter groups are now interchanging ranks and expertise and guns for hire, etc. So is this now a dangerous development, or we should look at where pan-Islamists are saying, let's combine forces?
Absolutely, terrible, absolutely terrible, very deadly. We've got to be very, very alert. We have to know what's going on, because whether it's Indian Mujahideen, whether it's ISIS, whether it's Al-Qaeda, anybody and everybody. You can have the Shias and the Sunnis also getting together. You can see Iran and Saudi Arabia getting together. Anything for their own comfort and for that Islam, the Caliphate, they will do anything. And this is what is really worrisome. We have to be careful. We have to be vigilant. And there's no question of anybody wanting an area to themselves. I remember once when I used to be operating in Doda, they would call certain areas Islamabad. It didn't take us about 3 months to sort them all out. So you have to do it. And when you have to do it, you've got to tell them, look, whatever it be, so no problem. But nation comes first, always and every time. There's no question of any one of you wanting to do your way. It's neither your way. It's the Constitution that allows us, and we are here to ensure that you follow it. Once you're strict, they know your mean business. They damn well follow the line. It is, you have to be. There's no question now. No question of anybody wanting to rule their way or go any other way. Nothing. It's just one way. The Indian Constitution is supreme. Indian nation is supreme. That's it. Otherwise, you'll be sorted out. Put them in jail.
No, but they are being radicalized via the ISIS band. See, the Daesh are somebody, even the moderates within Islam have largely come out against, and they've spoken against. The Daesh, many people agree on. Now, this radicalization is happening on the bent of the Daesh. But does this also underline the fact that there is no reforming a radical? Dr. Tarakarta, once a radical, always a radical. But how do you book somebody? How do you adjust? You can ban the organization. But can you ban the cadre? The cadre is manifesting. The cadre is only far getting and embracing far more radical fundamentalist ideology. It's not IM, it's not Students' Islamic Movement, it's now Daesh or ISIS.
Yes. In fact, we had done a kind of a wrap-up study on, various people who had volunteered to join different organizations. So, from say 16 onwards, and all of them had been, trying to get what are the commonalities. One.
Movement that inspires.
What does the Constitution mean?
How can we educate a 60-year-old man?
Why beat around the bush? It's time to say it like it is, to brush aside political correctness and present the real picture with clarity and candor. Because there's only one side that matters.
Plain Speak with Shivani Gupta, only on CNN News 18.
Movement that inspires.
News now, there seems to be a security breach in the Lok Sabha, ladies and gentlemen, where a person has jumped from the visitors gallery of the Lok Sabha. That's the piece of breaking news that's coming in. We'll try to get some more details, but what we are learning is that there seems to have been a security breach in the Lok Sabha where a person has jumped from the visitors gallery. That's the latest that's coming in from Parliament, ladies and gentlemen. That's a big piece of breaking news where there seems to have been a security breach in the lower house of Parliament where a person has jumped from the visitors gallery. We'll try to get some more details when it comes to what has happened inside Parliament, but what we are learning is that a person seems to have jumped from the visitors gallery. This is a huge security breach in the Lok Sabha, and also we've got access to those visuals. We'll play them out very soon for you. There seems to have been a security breach in the Lok Sabha where a person has jumped from the visitors gallery. Now, this is a huge piece of news that's coming in where the breach has also been caught on camera where a person has jumped from the visitors gallery in the Lok Sabha. That's the piece of news that's...
Good evening, this is Brastax. I'm Zaka Jacob. There was a major breach of parliamentary security today. Two men jumped from the visitors gallery onto the Lok Sabha floor. One of them was carrying a smoke canister inside his shoe. The house was filled with a yellow color smoke for some time. A bunch of MPs caught hold of both of these men, thrashed them, and then handed over these two men to the security. Simultaneously, two others were protesting outside the Parliament building. They also released some kind of yellow smoke. They too were detained and handed over to the police. Now it turns out that all of these four people were part of a larger gang. They had met on Facebook. They were part of some group. This was clearly a conspiracy. They had stayed in Gurugram just a few days ago. One person was from Lucknow, another one from Mysore, one from Jind in Haryana, and a fourth one from Maharashtra. This was a well thought out conspiracy. They were protesting against price rise and unemployment. This is a major breach of parliamentary security on a day when the nation was remembering the 13 December 2001 Parliament attack. So security would have been heightened anyway. So how did this breach happen? And who is responsible for this serious security breach? Who will be held accountable? Will heads roll starting from the top? But all of that and more in just a moment. But first, I want to bring you up to speed with the pictures that came out today.